Hello, I'm Jamie, financial planner at Magenta. This video is intended to provide a 10-point plan for your finances, and this is the second part covering the last 5 points. The link to the first 5-point video is in the comments below, so do go back and watch that if you haven't seen that yet. Before we begin, just to say that of course, this goes without saying, but everyone is in a different financial position. So some of these points that I'll outline will apply to you more than others, but you should take at least one thing out of them, hopefully. So picking up from point 5 last time, point number 6 now. What if you can't work? Well, if you're in work, consider what would happen if you couldn't work due to being ill. How would you and your family cope? If you're employed, have a look at your work sick policy to see what benefits you're entitled to. It may well be that unfortunately this doesn't actually provide much cover, and in some cases can be statutory sick pay, which really doesn't pay a lot. If this is the case, you should consider putting in place your own insurance to top this up, such as income protection. You may also have savings, but how long realistically might they last for? If you're self-employed, what have you put in place for yourself, and does this fall short of what you need? So have a think about how you could replace your income. Point 7, what if the worst was to happen to you? If you were to die, how would those left behind be able to cope? Now, naturally, it would be a pretty traumatic time on an emotional level, but this needn't be compounded by leaving your financial affairs untidy and having to be unpicked. So some things to ask yourself: have you got a will? What death in service do I get from work? And if I do get a payout of some description or have some insurance in place, will this cover my remaining mortgage and will it leave some money for my family? Or could you put something in place to ensure that they can replace your income or pay out a lump sum to be able to cover any liabilities such as a mortgage or any other large debts you might have? And point number 8, are you saving enough for retirement? It's hard to know what enough is going to be, as we don't know how long we're going to live and how much retirement is going to cost. But a good starting point is to think about what you spend now. What does your lifestyle cost you now? Some things in retirement will naturally cost more as you've got more free time, and some things like costs associated with work will reduce or stop. You are, however, likely to spend pretty similar to what you do now, so that's a good starting point. Have a think about state pension and any other guaranteed pensions like final salary that will provide a good foundation of income to cover bills. But do you have a plan for where money is going to come from to fund other things such as holidays and hobbies and other types of fun things you like doing? If you don't, you need to give some thought to how much you're putting away for retirement. Point number 9, check how your pension and any investments are doing. Putting money away for retirement is great, but given you have to work so hard to save that money, you'd like to think it'll work hard for you, right? Well, unless you're getting advice or you've already self-selected how you invest in your pension, it's going to go into the default option in that pension plan. For a small number of people, this would be the right choice, but for most people, it isn't. For those with a longer time frame to retirement, say more than 10 years, you can usually afford to take more risk and go with the ups and downs of the markets to try and achieve a better long-term return. So trying to get rewarded for taking that extra risk with your money. For those close to retirement, this might not be so appropriate as you may not be in a position to take that risk. The key thing is to look at your pension investment options. Usually you can log on and do this yourself. It can make a real difference to how much you end up with in retirement for the sake of 10 minutes of your time. But if you don't feel comfortable doing that and you don't really feel like you understand what those options might mean, then of course you can always seek advice. Now, if you're in a defined benefit pension, sometimes called a final salary pension, or perhaps a care pension, career average pension, then this doesn't apply to you. But the principle does apply to any investments that you might have outside of pensions, perhaps in an ISA. And lastly, point number 10, and I would say this is one of the most important things you could take away from this. So bring it all together as a big picture. So think about your current financial position as a whole and consider the tips covered in this video and in the previous one. And ask yourself these questions. Am I and my family protected if I can't work? Are my family protected if I die? Am I maximising my earning potential? Am I spending on things that I could cut back on? And if I can save more, what would I do with it? Another point, do I have any policies and plans that I don't know much about but I pay into? Am I saving enough for retirement? How is my money invested? And a really important point, if nothing else, what makes me happy and how can I put my money towards that? So granted, that's a lot to think about, so go easy on yourself, perhaps don't try to answer them all in one go now. But I would urge you to commit some time to thinking about those questions. So there you have it, the remaining 5 points of the Magenta 10-point plan for your finances. Hopefully you found this video useful along with the previous recording. If so, it would be great if you could give it a like, comment or share with your network. And if you'd like to have a chat about your own personal circumstances and something from this has triggered something in your mind you'd like to talk about, feel free to drop me a message and I'd be happy to respond. Thanks for watching and bye for now.